What's going on, boys? It's your boy Cerrone Macaroni MMA here back in another video, bro. And today we are going to be talking about big UFC fight news coming out here. Obviously, a lot of people already know that, but I'm kind of late on the topic. But we're not just talking about the 331 card in general. We're talking about other fights that have been announced as well. Some fighters that are gonna be in those fights. That's what I'm talking about them. And this is a little bit surprising, but if you really think about it, the matchup, the co-main event 331 that I'm going to be talking about makes a lot of sense. So you can't really hate on it. Main event, I already knew about it, but you know what? Let's just get straight into this, bro. I mean, people already know the news is, but I just want to talk about it, go in a little bit depth with the card, talk about some other fights that have been announced for the fight nights, other cards after 3:30 that's coming out this weekend. So let's get into it. Bang. The two fights I'm going to talk about here for 331 will be the main event and the co-main event. The main event being Van versus Pantoja 2, and the co-main Sarukian versus Rufi. Now, okay, I'll get to I'll start with Van and Pantoja first, just because that was the obvious one, but it's still valuable to talk about this fight. But then I'll get straight into Armin and Rufi. Okay, boy, Van Pantoja, we've been expecting this fight to happen. Obviously, Van, his last fight against Tatsuro Taira, he beat him pretty not. I mean he beat him up, but Taira showed a lot of heart and resilience in that fight, and he lasted for a while until ended if I kind of got stopped. TKO won for Joshua Van, but Joshua Van proved and he showed us that he definitely in his first title events he definitely is a guy to be scared about. Not because he's the champion, because obviously he won the belt in a very controversial way, with Pantoja injuring himself in the fight, not being able to continue. Um, and Van got the win there, by TKO, I guess. But this rematch is gonna be really interesting to me, just because a lot of people are siding with Joshua Van, but also a lot of people are also siding with Pantoja as well. Like it's kind of 50-50, it's split. Me personally, I do think Pantoja doesn't have the edge here, but I do see him winning. But to me, this fight can go either way, bro. This is a very not interesting matchup, but it's a very it's kind of interesting to see now. Now they're rematching and Van's the champion instead of it's how it was before of Van being the challenger and Pantoja being the champion. But this one's gonna be really good. We're expecting this main event to happen. Everybody wanted this to happen. Pantoja is gonna happen. Van is gonna happen. After Pantoja lost the belt, obviously we knew Van's gonna fight someone else who's next up in line for the flyweight title. And then right after that, Pantoja Van should have been booked immediately, and it was in the works for a while, and then they officially confirmed it. But we already knew it was gonna happen, though. We already knew that. Now let's get into the co-main. Arman Tsarukyan versus Mauricio Rufi. Finally, we get Arman Tsarukyan fight news, bro. This dude is so inactive. He's one of the most inactive. No, he probably is the most inactive fighter in the UFC currently, bro. I think so. I think so, honestly. Like it's not a joke. He generally, what does he do, bro? Like he's been spamming rap shit, and then he's come off a loss to Colby Covington. Hey, watch Colby Covington, 40 something years old. So I covered the UFC a couple months ago, and he lost to him, bro. But anyways, man, enough of the time for this fight makes sense. A lot of people are questioning like, oh, where's Charles? We understand why Charles is out, bro. One of his friends passed away. He still wants to mourn. He's not ready. But just in case one of these fighters need to drop out of this fight, you like let's say Armin or Rufi, one has to drop out. Charles Oliveira definitely is the backup. He's the backup guy. He's the guy, like any of them will get injured, someone drops out because something happened in the background, then Oliveira is the next guy up, and I feel like that's pretty obvious. But with Ruby being up here, it kind of makes sense for Ruby being the opponent, next up opponent, because look at it like this: Max Holloway is not gonna fight Armin. That could have happened. You never know, but like he just got out of a fight. Obviously, didn't take no damage in that fight, literally. But still, bro, there's bigger fights for him than Armin. No offense. Charles Oliveira, obviously, he's the backup fighter. Paddy, this guy have a fight with BSD. I don't know why he would fight Armin. That really doesn't make sense to me. BSD, he just got choked out. He wouldn't fight Armin either. That wouldn't make sense. And then we have Rufy, and obviously Gamrot's under him, Dan Hooker. All these guys are scheduled for fights, bro, in lightweight division. So really, I don't think that, I really don't think, you know, anybody else in between, like, in the rankings would be the most, that would make sense. But, we're here now. And this fight to me is a very interesting matchup. I do think Armin wins this fight. To me, Armin's gonna not destroy Rufy, but he's gonna have a very dominant win. Like, we like Rufy, he's fun to watch. He's coming off a win against Steve Garcia, not Steve Garcia. Oh my God, he's coming off a win against Michael Chandler on the UFC Freedom 250 card. That was, a pretty one-sided fight, but I mean, it's not his fault. He got offered the fight. Like, it's not like, I mean, I feel like if you were to turn down Michael Chandler for in 2026, you're kind of like crazy, because for most people in the division, that's gonna be an easy win. But anyways, to me with this fight, I think Armin's going to use a lot of his, grappling, his wrestling, bro. We've seen him doing plenty of other fights. That's against the ones like he has wins over Oliveira, bro. He did lose to Gamrot. He's won over Dan Hooker. Like, he's a very good guy on the ground. I'm not saying Rufy is the worst fighter on the ground, but I just don't think Rufy's gonna, be able to like the pace of Armin. I don't think he's gonna be able to stop the pace of Armin in this fight. These grappling changes they're gonna have in the fight, it's gonna be really difficult for Rufy to get out of it. The striking, on the other hand, Rufy has a really good chance. The kicks he throws, bro, nasty. We've seen before, like in the Bobby Green fight, and then even the Michael Chandler fight, threw a bunch of nasty kicks. He's done it plenty of times. He's notorious for that. So Armin has to be a little bit worried. Like Armin's win, Armin does not have a guaranteed win in right here. It's not a guaranteed win at all. Definitely not. But I do think he wins this fight by like decision, or there could be a finish, but it would not be an early round one finish. It'd be like a later finish. But this will still be a very good matchup. It makes the most sense, kind of. I mean, obviously we want to see Charles Oliveira, but we know what happened to Oliveira. So if he's out, then Rufy's probably the next setup you can think of. But let's move on to the card. This card, literally every fight in here is like that has some, entertainment to it, right? As we talk about the main event, the main event and the co-main, but look at the, main card that we have here, bro. Actually, I'm not even totally sure that this is the order. Actually, no, I think it is. I don't know. I think the order's gonna change. But like, if this is the main card that we're looking at right now, Patricio Pitbull versus Dude Choi, Moicano versus Brian Ortega, Alonzo Menafield versus Ivo Barnowski. Bro, this main card, like all these fights are good, bro. Very good. Like, we have Pitbull versus Dude Choi. Although Pitbull's pretty old, Dude Choi's pretty old. It's kind of an unk fight between two crafty guys, really good fighters. Then you have Moicano Ortega, a fight that was supposed to happen a minute ago, but that's been rebooked, rescheduled, and we're here. Another good fight. Ortega hasn't fought in a while. Moicano got one against Chris Duncan. That was kind of a gimme fight, right? Whatever. But still good fight, good matchup. Rebooked. We want to see this matchup. Then we have Alonzo Menafield, who I mean, on a main card. I mean, I don't know who really cares. Alonzo Menafield to me doesn't really impress me at all. But Ivo Barnowski, this guy, like, yes, he has chin allegations to him, okay, but he still is a good fighter, and I think he destroys Alonzo Menafield in this fight. But that's still good. That's still a very interesting match because these are two guys with a lot of power to them, bro. That's gonna be a brawl. Now we get to the prelims. We have Gable Stevenson versus Sean Sharaf. Kind of a pretty easy fight for Gable Stevenson, but you never know what's gonna happen. But still, probably a very blobby heavyweight fight, but still not a bad fight. Then we have Charles Jourdain versus Chito Vera. Chito Vera's on the decline, but still we like Charles Jourdain. We still kind of like Chito Vera, but listen, this is not a bad fight either. But then we have one of the biggest and craziest fight announcements of this year, bro. Tai Tuivasa is coming back, bro, and he's versing Robelis de Spain. And Robelis was in the UFC a couple years ago, if you remember. But the bad thing, like, this fight to me could go either way, because obviously I feel like Robelis has improved. I hope he's improved his wrestling, because he had no ground game in the UFC, because he lost to Austin Lane, bro. If you lose to Austin Lane, that's like, you might be one of the worst fighters ever. And Rebels probably is one of the worst fights ever, just because I lost Austin Lane. But this fight, he probably improved. I saw him in Karate Combat, some also other stuff. So he probably improved, bro. Probably got better. Um, and I do think this fight is very interesting. Tai Tuivasa. Hopefully, I kind of want to see Tai Tuivasa win, bro. Rebels, if he loses his first fight, he should still be on contract. But like, it's kind of like, come on, bro. Like, it's like, man, you're losing to Tai Tuivasa on a 7-fight losing streak, bro. He's about to break the record of most losses in a row, bro, or tie it with Tony Ferguson if he loses this fight. But still, very interesting fight, very fun fight. Then we have Edmen Shahbazyan versus Bruno for another nice middleweight scrap, bro. Two guys. Ferrer just lost to Ikram Aliskerov on the Azerbaijan card, UFC Baku. And Shahbazyan just fought Brendan Allen in a war. I don't know how it's a war, because Brendan Allen's a top 5 ranked middleweight. Shahbazyan's unranked. But he's still putting a show. We know how tough these two guys are. Good fight. Then, another surprising fight announcement. Giga Chikadze is still fighting. I thought he was done. Like, he didn't, obviously he didn't officially retire, but I thought he, like, the injuries and stuff, I thought he's kind of done, and you're still waiting for, to announce his retirement. But like, he's here on this card, and he's fighting Joe Anderson Brito, a very good grappler. Joe Anderson Brito. Interesting fight, I kind of do want to see Giga win this fight, but if he loses, it makes most sense because he's an old guy, injury riddled here and there. He's kind of the guy who loses the upcoming guys in the UFC. Lost to Vallejos, got destroyed. But Vallejos is a different story. He's good. He's good. And if Casey O'Neill versus Eduardo Mora, another ranked women's flyweight bout. Solid fight, cool. Brian Ganger versus Ozzy Diaz, another kind of one-sided fight, but still we like Brian Ganger. Ozzy Diaz is all right. Who cares? Still a nice fight. And then for the opener, Michael Aslo Jr. versus Ju Sang Yu, bro. That's gonna be a scrap. If you remember watching Michael Aslo Jr. against like Luke Riley or like Gaston Bolaños, this guy puts on good fights, bro. Very entertaining. Throwing hands fights. And against a fight like Ju Sang Yu, it's gonna be a very good fight. But overall, every fight on this card has an entertainment value to it. A good, like, bro, think about Tai Tuivasa on this, bro. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro. That's gonna be a fun fight. Armin's on this card. The rematch versus Van Pantoja. The main card is in general nice. The prelims are still like pretty like nice. This card in general is good, bro. And I think it's gonna be one of the best cards of the year, bro. I'm telling you, one of the best cards of the year, bro. Trust me, bro. Mark my words. Man, we have a couple more fights to go over here. Let's move on. Some other fights. Bang! Bang, 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 bang. Yes, sir. My boy, Emmanuel Rodriguez. I was happy when this fight got announced because I love Emmanuel Rodriguez. He's one of my favorite fighters in the flyweight division. Flyweight? Hey, I'm pretty sure. Oh my god, my eyes are blinking here. But anyways, he's fighting Alden Correa. Now, these two guys are both boxers, bro. They're very quick. Although Alden Correa kind of had a disappointing. He kind of had a disappointing win over Stuart Nickel. He's still really good. It's just that like he should have finished Stuart Nickel like in round 1, but Stuart Nickel was just sprawling with him, and he somehow lasted in that fight. I don't know how. It was kind of going back and forth a little bit here and there, but anyways, he still won by decision. He still did more. But he needs to he kind of needs to improve his wrestling, bro. His takedown defense, all that, because he did not look great on the ground in that fight. But he still won. Fair. Wrestling at Mayor Rodriguez, a very good upcoming guy. He's probably one of the fastest guys I've seen in a flyweight or in general in the UFC currently. I remember he fought Kevin Boras, and Kevin Boras is another very quick guy, bro. Quick, elusive, quick, speedy dude in the UFC, and he beat him. That was a good fight. It was on the UFC. It was in the UFC Mexico card with Moreno versus Kavanaugh, and that card in general was pretty good, pretty fun to watch. But that was a very good performance by Emmanuel Rodriguez, bro. He showed what he could do. I mean, he just dominated, bro. Right. But this fight to me, I would lean a little bit more to Emmanuel Rodriguez. But this fight is really gonna be a really good brawl. I just think like there are guys who are built like what's it called Enriquez and Ramazan Timarov are two guys who are built the same way. But I feel like Rodriguez is more like he's kind of aggressive, but the way he fights is not like because Ramazan Timarov just throws like obviously since he's shorter than mostly everybody in this division, he's gonna throw crazy punches. But Bo like he kind of that's what he kind of reminds you of. But like the way they throw like strikes and all that is different though. But very interesting fight. Ling Mordon man like I said, but still a very good fight. It's gonna be on 332 I believe too. So fun fight. Very excited for this fight because I love Rodriguez, bro. One of my favorite prospects. Now, next up, we have Fares Ziam versus Axel Solo. I'm pretty sure this is definitely on the UFC France card. Headlined by Hooker and Parnasse. Another good fight, bro. Another good fight. Axel Solis came off a pretty easy dominant win over Ismail Bonfim on the Abu Dhabi card. That happened last month. Another fight that I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm all here for it. And we know Fares Ziam, he came off a very questionable loss to Tom. And when I say questionable, I mean questionable in the terms of like he kind of lost himself that fight because of the way he was, decisions he made. And he kind of got outgrabbed. He got outgrabbed on the feet, and I was striked in that. Or no, he got. Oh my God, I can't speak. He got outgrappled on the ground, and then I was struck on the feet. And Tom Nolan's another guy who's like dangerous, but and a pretty good fighter. But it just didn't really go his way. But he still was not a bad performance by Versailles. It was a very close fight, very close fight. But this fight to me is really fun, bro. I would love to see these two on the ground because Axel Solo is dangerous for submissions. Versailles is another dangerous fighter, and he has some knockout power to him, as we've seen in some fights. So he knocked out like Nazim Sadikov, right? Remember that, and Matt Frivola, two pretty nice knockouts. But like still, this fight's another good fight. I'll say Fares has been in the UFC for a little while, so he's not a prospect. But Axel Solo is definitely a guy who's like he has not fought. He does not have what I'm trying to say. He's not have that many fights in the UFC. Yeah, it's gonna be his fourth fight in the UFC. So I always still kind of consider him like a upcoming prospect, a guy who can rise on the rankings, who's puts on good performances, bro. Like look at his last fight against Mason Jones. Good performance. He was dominant. He looked good, bro. Right. So to me, these are two good fights, two upcoming guys in each of these fights. I don't course another upcoming guy too. You could say two, but yeah, two good fights. Now with the next fights I'm talking about here, we have a very interesting matchup in one of these slides here. Before I even get to Tommy McMillan versus Marwan Rahiki, we got to talk about Mickey Gall versus Cedricus Dumas. This fight is very interesting, bro. I genuinely thought Mickey Gall. Okay, before we get to Cedricus Dumas, I thought Mickey Gall was done. I thought he was finished in the UFC, bro. He ended his UFC tenure on a 4-fight losing streak, bro. Literally four-fight losing streak, right? He has no KOs in the UFC. He was kind of one of the worst UFC fighters we've seen in a while. Like he was pretty bad in the UFC. But like literally this dude, hold up. He's on some very good legendary cards. Legendary cards. Very good cards. But he just is not good. He has some bad losses. He has some wins though. I mean, if you lost to this dude, come on, man. Come on, bro. But he lasted in the UFC for like 9-ish years, 8 years, somewhere around there. But he lasted a while. But yeah, I thought he was done, bro. This is like a 2-year layoff from. He's coming back. He's versing Cedricus Dumas, who recently just got cut from the UFC. But I guess he's back on a new fight day or something like that. I guess, man. Who's also on a pretty bad losing streak, but he lost to Jackson McVeigh. That's bad, bro. I guess Jackson McVeigh is a good grappler, but like, come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on. That's Dante Johnson, another upcoming guy. Like those are two upcoming guys in the UFC. They lost Michael Olechek. He back finishing all his losses on his losing streak, bro. But he had a very interesting UFC tenure. But he was guys like, if you remember who this is, bro, if you know who Dennis Tululin is, bro, I feel like you've been watching UFC for some time, bro. He fought Dennis Tululin, bro. He fought like Nursultan Rizabayev. He fought Cody Brundage. Yeah, he's fought a lot of interesting guys in the UFC, bro. I mean, he's a very weird resume if you look at his resume, bro, who he's fought. But this is a very interesting fight. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I would probably take Mickey Gall. I don't know how Mickey Gall has been doing, but from what I remember about Mickey Gall, bro, he's a really good grappler, and I just think he's not the worst striker, but I just think he'll be fun. This is gonna be the funniest. Like the Tai Tuivasa versus Roberto Spain fight, and this fight are gonna be the two funniest fights we're gonna see all year, bro. I promise you, this fight's gonna be a meme, bro. Oh god, bro, I'm just laughing at lacking this fight right now, bro. This is so funny. But now we get to one of the best book fights of the year that I've seen, bro. It's Tommy McMillan versus Marwan Rahiki, bro. This fight's gonna be so good, and it's for UC Noche. Oh my god, bro. I remember like Tommy McMillan, like he said, oh, the fight's booked. He has next opponent, he's ready. And then it turns out being Marwan Rahiki, bro. This is gonna be Tommy Millen's like biggest challenge in the UFC so far, bro. I just really think it would be really difficult for him to, use his same style he always uses against other people, bro. And the thing is, we still have not seen this dude's wrestling in the UFC. We have not seen it yet. We have not seen his wrestling yet, bro. That's the biggest anomaly of his whole fighting style. He's a wrestler, bro. He has wrestling, bro. He's a wrestling background, all that. We just have not seen it, but I do think it's gonna be a really good fight, bro. Simon Millen, I'm not the biggest fan of him really, but like he's still a very entertaining fighter. Like I would not like just because I don't like somebody like that or I kind of dislike the fighter a little bit. I don't really care about them. I would never discredit the skill they have, bro. Tommy Millen has skill, and we've seen him. We've seen him in the UFC so far. I remember his fight against Herberto Montes that happened like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. But that fight was crazy, bro. We thought Montes was gonna sub him, destroy him. No, Tommy came in there. I mean, Tommy came in there and he just, destroyed him. He threw over 500 strikes in that fight. Crazy. But I do think, with his style, the way he runs at you and takes unnecessary damage in his fights, but still is throwing well-rounded, jabs, combinations, he cannot do that against Marwan. He cannot do that against Rahiki, bro. He cannot. I'm sorry. He just can't do that against Rahiki, bro. Like, if he does that, Rahiki will take his chin, bro. He's going to take his chin instantly if he even runs at him like that. And I just think it's gonna be bad, bro. It's gonna be bad. I think, and this is Rehi's third fight of the year, bro. This dude is he's active, bro. He's active as hell, bro. In featherweight, he's so active. And that's one thing I like about this guy. I mean, he's still young in the UFC, bro. He doesn't have any fights in his career either. So, but it makes sense for a young guy to take a bunch of fights, bro. I mean, he gets pretty quick KOs. Remember he KO'd Harry Hardwick and he broke his jaw or some shit like that. That was nasty, very nasty. But still, this is probably going to be one of the best fights. Two upcoming prospects. And people, I saw people complaining about this fight, like, oh my god, two prospects are going to fight. Fight makes no sense. Like, has made no sense, bro. These are two guys, same division. Very good fighters, upcoming prospects that we want to see fight. And people complain like, oh, we don't want Mayweather to fight Reiki. Like, and people are also saying Mill's gonna KO Reiki, bro. I'm like, no, he's not, bro. This fight's gonna go for the distance, or end like late of the first round, bro. But I think these two are both tough enough to last all 3 rounds, and this fight's gonna be a good fight. But anyways, man, that's gonna be the end of the video. If you like this content, like, subscribe. And that's gonna be it, man. Peace.